Bluff City Media presents the Two Buck Sports Show. Stepping up to the microphone are your hosts, Drew Gann and Rusty Witten. Now, let's get to the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the live edition of the Two Buck Sports Show. I'm your co-host, as always, Rusty Buckus, checking here with my guy, Drew Gann, a.k.a. Uncle Buck. Uncle Buck, we've been talking about doing this since we started the Two Buck Sports Show, well, back then, the Two Buck Sports Podcast in November of 2022, and here we are. Shout out to Bluff City and the gang, and we're finally getting to go live. What's up, man? How are you?
The horses are ready for battle. But God determines the victory. Isn't that what James said last night? The horses are ready for battle. Listen, this is a lot of fun. We get to hang out with you guys in the comments, but we're not like actually reading the comments as the show's going on. We're just like you guys watching the show and responding to your questions or concerns. And so we're doing this live here, and this is a lot of fun. And so this isn't going to be an every Friday thing, but it is a this Friday thing, and we're really excited. So if you're listening to us on Twitter, we do invite you right here at the start to go over to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. That's where the host of the comments section hangs out. We will still see your comments if you comment on Twitter, but if you want the camaraderie of other commenters, YouTube's probably the best place to do it. Go to YouTube, on the app, search Bluff City Media, hit the live button, get in the live stream, and hang out with Wayno. Wayno's here with us already, all the way from Australia.
As always, it's probably tomorrow there or yesterday. I'm not real sure how time zones work, but he is sometime in the distant future or past. Wayno, thanks for being here. And, Drew, like you said earlier, like the horses are ready, but it's been a day trying to get here. Like, I feel like it could be both of our beefs. We always start with our best in beef for longtime listeners of the show. And so, like, I feel like both of our beefs could be today. Like, my girlfriend Maggie, she's got a house not too far from here in East Memphis, and her hot water heater has been out for over a week, and we've been trying to get it fixed, and it got fixed about not even quite 20 minutes ago, and I scoot and boogied over here to be here for the show. You had some Power Ranger type duties going on, but I don't want to steal too much of your thunder if that is your best in beef, but Drew, why don't you set up our next segment like always?
Yeah, listen, this whole thing started as two best friends recording their phone calls. And so as every phone call does, we kind of lay some groundwork. We're trying to kind of catch up for a minute. So we call this segment our best in beef with weakness, where we ask each other, what's the best thing that's happened to you this week? And what's the worst thing that's happened to you this week? I'll start because I feel like we've hit on this, but it still kind of lingered with me. Best of the week. Hanging out with Brevin Knight Sunday night in the FedEx Forum in the Grizz Den. We ran into Brevin Knight, co-worker Brevin Knight on Bluff City Media, co-host of the Night Court podcast on Bluff City Media. And I was able to spot him relatively easily because he was by far the sharpest dressed man in the Grizz Den before the game Sunday night against the Nuggets. And listen, let me just tell you, as nice and as he feels like your friend when you watch him for 82 games on TV. But let me tell you, if you meet him in person, he is somehow nicer. And so enjoyed just chopping it up with Brevin. For us Grizzlies fans who eat, sleep, and breathe Memphis Grizzlies, the media personalities that cover the Grizzlies feel like family. Like, it's weird, but it's like you could reach out and touch them. And I got to touch Brevin Knight on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's nice to meet your heroes, and they turn out to be amazing people.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's kind of my best was Uncle Buck and I were in FedEx Forum for the Denver win. What's up, Art? Thanks for hanging out, buddy. For the Denver win, not the Denver loss, thankfully, but we got to watch that game, pinnacle level. It was a good time. But the best part was meeting Brevin in the Grizz Den, like you said. My best was going to be the good gear that I got there. They've got some awesome quarter zips and hoodies, and I've worn them all week long, so they're in the dirty clothes while I'm not wearing one right now. But so much good sounds gear. We got the Letterman patch right up here above my shoulder, as you can see it back there. I can't speak good English. That's what happens when you come from Northeast Mississippi. But so much good stuff. And then they say don't meet your heroes, but meeting Brevin Knight was awesome. Super nice guy, just a dude, man. Made us feel like we were just regular guys, friends of his, as he's shopping, telling us about shopping for his kid. He's like, I'm here shopping for my kids, but I'm finding me some stuff. And it's like, well, that's kind of how that goes. So he's one of us.
He is one of us because he was also struggling with paying the high prices of the Grizzlies den.
Goodness.
And I was like, Mom, if Brevin struggles, I feel like I'm at home now.
Again, one of us. One of us.
Yeah, so my beef, it was almost a late show up for Uncle Buck here for the show. I think I rolled into this chair at 3:00 on the dot. But my real beef is that I'm getting really close to being sick of cold weather. I think.
What?
I'm getting there.
That's the best part of the year, man.
No, I get it. The wind is what kind of put me over the edge yesterday. I was outside all day yesterday. And I know everybody's like, you must work hard. You were outside one day this week. And I was like, true. I live a very cushy life. I'm not a lineman. I'm not in the elements every day. But I was yesterday, and I was like, this is kind of chilly. I really thought I'd enjoy this, but nope, didn't.
I see. Man, I would love to be out there. I miss some of those days. Like high school, I worked on a sod farm just outside of North Corinth, Mississippi, and I loved being outside every day. Didn't love the backbreaking labor. My dad did that so that I would go to college because I was toying with the idea of not. And it worked, but my office job now, I do miss just being outside. I like my role where I can be in the truck, in and out of offices. It is pretty nice, but I'm not showing up wind chapped like my colleague here, as Wayno has pointed out in the comments with the rosy cheeks today.
I would say it's the outside, it's being outside in the cold, but it's really just, it's my Christmas spirit coming out.
I was about to say, he's turning into Santa Claus, right? He's getting the rosy cheeks. He's growing the beard out. It's not quite white yet, but he's going to turn into Santa Claus.
It will be.
Like Tim Allen right in front of our eyes, right? Like that scene in the doctor's office where it's just like, poof.
So my top 3 Christmas movie, the original Santa Claus. It's not talked about enough that Tim Allen murdered Santa.
Right, and gets away with it for the entirety of a series and now a television show. It's a wild.
And then they're just like, "Oh, you killed Santa. Well, congratulations, you are now Santa."
You are Santa. That don't work. Murder doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh, imagine how many people. I'm not going to go there.
No, we're going to leave that alone. I set that up. I was going to see if you'd spike it. Moving right along.
Imagine how many people would try to be president.
Yeah. Oh my God. Moving right along. My beef of the week, man, is just today. It's always chaos. Like the best laid plans are surrounded by chaos. I don't think that's the saying, but it is today. Like Drew and I have been planning this for 2 weeks now that we're going to go live today. And they're like, it's coming. And today he had to go be a Power Ranger for the good folks at Tippah County and make sure they have power. I got a phone call from him and is it 160 to 1 or 150 to 5? Which one is it? And I'm like, I don't know, bro. I'm just driving, man.
Yeah.
And then Maggie's chaos with her hot water heater and trying to get that figured out. I got work stuff piling up. It never fails when you got something planned. Normally my Friday afternoons are just cush. I work, I'm usually sitting in an office, catching up on emails, chopping it up with my team. And then the one Friday where I'm like, all right, I'm going to take advantage of that and record a show at 3:00.
Right.
Fit hits the shan, if you will.
Yeah, it's true because all of our shows have always been pre-recorded. And so there's always kind of some grace in there for family or trauma that happens. We work around each other, but we laid this in stone and we went live when our show is due. And so it's like, okay, well, if you can't be there, I'm going to have to start it. And if I go solo, then uh-oh.
Yeah, y'all almost got about 5 or 10 minutes of a bumbling buckets over here just trying to murder my way through the first part of this episode. So I'm grateful that my colleague is here. I hosted the Daily Grind a couple of weeks ago when Luke had to be out heading on vacation. And I told him immediately, as soon as it was over, Parrish was awesome. He did a great job. Yeah. But as soon as it was over, I texted Luke and DG and I'm like, bro, I don't know how y'all do that every week like that. Kudos to y'all for doing that for sure.
I got a kind of the bug for live television, doing the college football rankings reaction show on Tuesday nights. The comments in there are not nearly as popping as Daniel Greer deals with.
DG and Nate are consummate professionals, and we look up to him a lot. He's the reason that y'all are seeing us on your screen right now. He is the blessing or the curse, depending on your perspective right now, as to why we're sitting here.
50.
Yeah, 50-50 with this crowd.
Joke's on you. You're here.
Yeah, that's it. With this crowd, it might even be 60-40. But anyway, shout out to DG and Grizz 901 for finding us on Twitter almost a year ago, Drew. We're gonna have to it come January when it rolls out, like our year anniversary, we're doing like a $2 all like live show. We're gonna have a couple drinks and have a great time. Let's put it that way.
It'll be fun. So yeah, that's our first segment. That's our best and beef. That is us just catching up and seeing how everything's going. And so we're gonna get into some Grizzlies now, and that's what we're here for, and that's what everybody comes here to see. And so if you've got any Grizzlies questions, topics, if you don't like or like anything that we are saying, hop in the chat. That's why we do this live. If we didn't want to hear from you guys, we would pre-record this thing at an easier hour. But we're here to hear from you guys. So hop in the chat. Rusty's going to lead us fearlessly into our first topic that I'm not.
Yeah, something like that. So here we are. So we've got some news out of the NBA. Drew, we were talking about this in the green room, technically, aka normally we have like 20 or 30 minutes before the show where we just BS and kind of figure out what we're going to do. Well, that was the 2-minute and 11-second intro for today as we're on the phone. Like, here's what we're going to do. So there's been some rumors about some changes in the NBA. We've got a lot of information coming out, just some news about the All-Star game format, about some grumblings of doing away with divisions, which the divisions are silly anyway. But they're talking about doing away with conferences as well. So that's let's start there. Then we'll get to All-Star before we dive in on the Grizzlies. So it is looking like there are some rumblings and some rumors about the NBA when it expands to 32 teams. What is that, 26, 27?
Well, I mean, the expansion teams have not been announced yet. So
but we're looking at the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
Next, I would say within 5 years, there will be 32 teams.
For sure. And when they do
one of them being in Vegas.
One of them being in Vegas. The other one, they're talking about bringing back the Supersonics, which, I mean, I would freaking love, man. Seattle and Vegas. Yeah. I'm here for it. I'd love to see that move Memphis over to the Eastern Conference. But I digress. Western Conference executives believe the NBA could eliminate conferences and have the top 16 teams make the playoffs when the league expands to 32 teams, per Brian Windhorst at ESPN. Uncle Buck, that's a seismic shift in what we've been used to in the NBA.
Yeah, so I think it's important to note that Brian Windhorst said that there's rumblings coming from Western Conference GMs, which is obvious. You know, if you're in if they put this up to a vote, it would be 15-15, and the vote would depend on what conference you're in, because there's no way in the world that Chicago and Charlotte and Indiana and Atlanta would vote for a merit-based playoff system, because they get in every year based on nothing. And
based on nothing. So,
yes, would this be beneficial for the Grizzlies? Absolutely. Those middle tier Western Conference teams would be higher seeds probably, and that and then the Eastern Conference teams that get in every year as an 8 seed that have a losing record, well, then congratulations, you were playing the 1 seed overall, 1 seed, and regardless of conference. So yeah, they're not going to be down for that. Listen, I think it's a good idea. I always kind of shy away from getting rid of conferences or divisions because, and you see it with like SEC football now, is there's history and real smoke between teams within the same sect, whether that be a division or a conference. And, you know, back when the Grizzlies did compete for Southwestern Division championships, you know, there was a lot of smoke with those Texas teams being, you know, San Antonio. And, you know, San Antonio won like 20 straight Southwestern Division titles, and they just got rid of it. And so that did benefit the Grizzlies. But I always want some sort of history there. Like, and maybe it's different in the NBA, because regardless of conference, you are playing every team. You just play Western Conference teams 3 to 4 times a year, and you play Eastern Conference team twice.
Right.
And so, but the playoffs is where that kind of angst happens, that rivalry starts. And the first year that this happens, if the Grizzlies match up with, you know, Orlando, like there's no smoke there. There will become smoke there, but it's not as sexy as a Grizzlies fan as another rematch with the Warriors or the Thunder or the Clippers. You know, that is history that you're more or less getting rid of.
Yeah, and I don't disagree to an extent. I think the divisions might be a little bit silly because they don't matter anymore. Like, it's just a matter of, like, you're just clumped together in these little pods, especially now that, like, we're doing the NBA Cup. The NBA Cup is regardless of divisions, right? That doesn't matter. So that might be a little silly. I like the idea of getting rid of those, but keeping the conferences. I don't know that I'm for combining all 32 teams for a lot of the reasons you said. I think that it's going to eliminate a lot of that traditional rivalry that you see. Like, again, I don't hate, like you said, it's a good point. I don't hate the Magic. I don't hate the Hornets, or I don't hate the Knicks that we would be matched up with. I hate the Thunder and the Clippers and the Warriors, and I would much rather be paired up with them in the playoffs to where we can have that smoke where it matters a little bit more, because it doesn't matter right now in November. I mean, sure, to a degrry it does, but it's a whole different animal come April, May, June in the playoffs heading towards those finals. So I think I understand the rationale for Western Conference teams, because it's brutal to try and get to the top of the Western Conference. For the Eastern Conference teams, like you said, I would vote 15-0 to not make that happen, because of the competition is going to be completely different for them trying to get into the finals. Now, let's say we keep the conferences, East and West. Drew, what do you think? So we've got 2 expansion teams that are going to be heading in. Vegas, likely Seattle. Yeah, that hat's terrible. Shout out Kenny Stubblefield in the comments. It's an awful hat. But we've got 2 teams likely going to go to the Western Conference in Vegas, and we'll say Seattle, since that's kind of the common theme of what it looks like it's going to be. That's going to leave a imbalance of power, right?
Right.
We could see 2 teams move east. The 2 teams that make the most sense, the furthest 2 east teams are Memphis and New Orleans.
That's right.
But the Timberwolves are also pretty far east, and they currently have some of the farthest they have to travel for some of their division Western Conference games, because they're lumped with Portland and Sacramento and that side. Versus you've got Detroit, Utah. You've got Chicago, right within driving distance of Minneapolis, more or less. And so it makes it a little bit closer. So what does the NBA do there? Who moves over? Who stays behind?
Yeah, and I think that's why this conversation is probably happening, because the most obvious choices are New Orleans and Memphis, because I mean, you can kind of keep those together. They're regionally very close. I'd never heard the Minnesota thing before. That is interesting.
Oh yeah, Minnesota's is a big one because of Chicago, Milwaukee, or they're all right there. It's easy, close. Detroit's all pretty close. And there, if you look at a map, like Minneapolis is pretty far east, not quite as east as New Orleans and Memphis, but it's pretty far east.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. I always kind of hate losing historical rivalries. You know, you look at the SEC this year, and Ole Miss did not play Texas A&M. Ole Miss did not play their historical East rival Vanderbilt this year. Mm-hmm. You know, and
dear God,
and you know, we did not play Alabama or Auburn, and so it's weird. You know, we don't have that much angst with Kentucky and with Florida and with you know, Oklahoma, but you know, new playoff rivalries make new controversy. They make new.
I mean, I could quickly come to hate a team if it goes down, much like that Thunder Grizzly series when Zebo got suspended in 2015. I could quickly hate a team if something like that happens.
I never hated Minnesota before, but I learned to hate Minnesota.
Growing up, I was a fan of KG and some of those teams growing up, and so I would watch Minnesota, kind of half-heart root for them, even though old school Vancouver fan here. Not anymore. Like, even after, speaking of Minnesota, man, while we're on that topic, how about Julius Randle doing Julius Randle things, hogging the ball last night? I don't blame him for not passing it to Rudy Gobert, even though he had a beautiful seal on Scotty Barnes under the basket. But what a disaster that has turned out. Because now today you've got DiVincenzo likely on his way out because he's unhappy with his role. Like, color me shocked that Julius Randle didn't improve the locker room morale in Minnesota.
Yeah. I call that when it happened. Julius Randle is one of the biggest loser all-star players ever. Yeah. He just sucks as a teammate and as a role guy. And no one takes more shots per game and makes more shots per game, but affects the game less.
Yeah,
as Julius Randle.
100%. And for him to be such a ball stop
and you gave
in that
up the
role,
best big man shooter of all time.
Yeah.
Who I'm not big on, but
yeah,
when you compare him to Julius Randle,
yeah, I don't know. Rudy was underneath the goal, essentially, deeper than a frog's fart. I've never heard that. That must be an Aussie thing. But on the very next possession, Julius did drive in and kick it to Gobert. It wasn't the best pass. What does Gobert do with it? Go right through his hands, down the front of his shirt, and turn it over. So I kind of don't know that I blame him for not doing that.
And let me just be honest. If it were me, I would not pass to Rudy Gobert either.
No.
Not post up. That dude's got his feet are like they're planted into the floor.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he wears cleats out there.
Well, he plays that hot topic. He plays that Angel Reese style of basketball where he's going to get 4 rebounds before he finally puts it back in, right? He's going to stat pad a little bit, but moving right along.
If Angel Reese was 7'2" like Rudy Gobert, you would not be able to see the difference.
No, that's very true. Exactly. Exactly. And
that's what Rusty's saying, right? Right. Rusty?
Sure. Ant was playing last night. That was the other thing. Ant was over in the corner. Him and Gobert got into it, Art. So, again, what a disaster. Kenny's absolutely right. Passing the ball to Gobert in the post, that's a disaster waiting to happen. So I don't blame him either. So there could be some teams on the move. There could be some changes coming to the format of the regular season. Also, they're looking at revamping the All-Star game. Show of hands real quick here. Who looks forward to the All-Star game every year because of the competitiveness and the things that come out of it, right? Nobody. The weekend's fun. You got three-point competition. I love watching Steph and Ionescu shoot last year. I love that. I love the dunk competition, though. We need to do we got to get Ja and LeBron and some of these other big-time stars to do it again, especially Ja. Like a Ja and Ant dunk off would be Ja would walk away with it. But watching two of your more athletic premier guys in the dunk competition would be great. But they're looking at changing
sell tickets and show that in movie theaters.
100%. But we're looking at changing the all-star format. They're looking at doing some pod play where you've got 3 teams of 8 and then the 4th team being the rising stars. So we really could see a team of Steph and LeBron facing Jared McCain and Zach Edey if they're given help. Jalen Wells, your future rookie of the year. Drew, I don't know that necessarily moves the needle for me with the All-Star game. What are your initial thoughts on some of the new format?
Well, they've got to do something. I mean, let's be honest. In the era of load management and scared to death of getting hurt, nobody tries in the All-Star game. And Adam Silver pled with them last year just to try. We're in negotiations for a new TV deal. This is a marquee night. This is prom for, this is the homecoming dance for the NBA season right here in the middle of the season. And we want to put a good product out there. And then they went out there and one team won 205 to 186 or whatever. And it was just unwatchable TV. And so you've got to do something to bring up the competitiveness. Now, always loved when they went to the 4 teams, one team coached by, I don't know, who was it? Pau Gasol had one team. And for the Rising Stars game, I liked that. That was really neat.
I like that. Yeah, that was a good format.
And so they're trying to parlay that into the real thing. And I don't mind giving it a shot because what's being thrown out there is not working. And so maybe this is the way you do it. But honestly, I heard Chris Vernon talking about it yesterday, and I agree with him. I don't know that this makes it more competitive, but when the team of vets plays against the team from the Rising Stars, the Rising Stars will be out for blood. And
absolutely.
So that team's going to play. You know that for sure.
Absolutely. And I mean, a USA versus world type format in that as well. You throw a world team in there. I don't hate that idea. There's a lot of things you can make it more competitive, but with the Rising Stars, make it first to 21, I think is what they play to, make it a quick competitive kind of play-in night. I think it could be fun.
I think you should adopt what the WNBA does, especially with the drama from the Olympic team. The WNBA does Team USA versus All-Stars. So any All-Star that is not an Olympian plays the Olympic team. And so you had Caitlin Clark being the snub versus the Team USA team. And this year, if you did that, you would get the Team USA versus Jaylen Brown. Who wouldn't want that? Jaylen Brown would go for 90. That is built-in angst. Anybody that was snubbed, you get Jason Tatum and Derek White versus a pissed off Jaylen Brown playing for the All-Stars and not Team USA. Yeah.
You talk about a ball stop. Like Jaylen Brown would never pass the ball. He would be going for every single bucket trying to prove a point against those Olympians. So absolutely, man. I think there's potential here. I think that depending on how you format it and how you divvy up the coaches, I don't know if you do like a draft, if you do like old schoolyard, hey, here's your, 24 players, pick 8 each team, and then you got the rising stars, like just like on a schoolyard, how we used to do back in the day. Like there's ways that you can make it interesting on how those teams are divided.
Yeah, so they were saying they were speculating 8-person teams, and then I would imagine it would be the 3 top vote getters pick their team, and then the champion team of the Rising Stars game is how I would probably do it. They want to do this like made for TV stuff. It's kind of garbage. I would literally line them up schoolyard style.
That's what I'm saying.
5 minutes before tip and have them pick their teams. I would love that.
Then you want to see basketball at its purest.
I want to see the 12th person standing by himself on the court as he goes to the last team that picks. Like that's what I want to see. That's drama. You're talking like if the game isn't going to give you drama, you've got to get drama somewhere. And that has drama in it, but it also parlays it into the game because that 12th player is going to try to fracture skulls. And if the 12th best NBA player is the only player that cares, then you better believe he's going for 80.
Absolutely. And let's do it bachelor or bachelorette style. They all stand up on stage. You call them down. They walk down and they get a rose, and then they go like your rose is the color of your team, or they hand you a jersey and that's what you put on and then go hoop.
Or, I'm a huge Survivor fan. It's my guilty pleasure. I've been a Survivor fan for, I don't know, this is like 47th season. I've been there for all of them. We could draw rocks, or we could pick teams and hand out jerseys, like here's your jersey. I pick you,
Look. I would love nothing more than Jaylen Brown being the last man standing on Survivor or Bachelor style picking of the teams. And nothing would be more motivated than Jaylen Brown in that. I think it'd be phenomenal.
Yeah. Let's go with Saint's comment here. Let's talk about this. So Saint says USA versus World will snub deserving American-born stars, all-stars, and include too many non-all-star level world players. I do agree with that. I don't like the America versus World. I like All-Stars versus Team USA, and it would be, and I would put it like the top 15. You take all of the vote getters and just rank them. Then you just pick out Team USA. All right, none of the Team USA get in. Who's the next best? And so then you're looking at like 30. Yeah. You're getting 30 players. I don't know. Yeah, maybe that's too many all-stars. But
I don't know. I like our idea. Let's do it bachelor style. Make everybody stand on stage. You call them down, have the last man standing. I'm here for that. The other thing with that too, Drew, this has been a big source of drama and conversations for a lot of the fans of the two, Bluff City Media, things we see on Twitter. It's just how daggum difficult it is to watch an NBA game. Like, you've got to have every single streaming service. I've got FanDuel. That's where I watch most of the Grizzlies games because then I get Pete and Brev, and it's been good so far. It's been better than Bally. I mean, 1,000%.
I have zero issues with FanDuel Sports. I have not had to log in, but one time.
And that was in October when I bought it.
Awful. And I don't know what happened. How in the world did FanDuel announce that they were taking over a week before the season started? And it's amazing. Like,
immediately
did they really fix everything in a week?
Yeah, they've got some absolute just nerd heads in the back room somewhere if they did, man, for fixing that. But like, let's try and correct that problem. You talk about viewership's going down, like NBA viewership as a whole is going down, and I think it's because it's so complicated to watch a game. You got to have so many streaming services, ESPN Plus, NBA League Pass, your local source. For us, that's FanDuel. Like, if we could simplify that process, the product is good. The players are good. There's stories. There's personalities. It's entertaining. Like, it's good basketball. And unless you're the Miami Heat or the Lakers until the end of the season, it's competitive basketball. And so I think that, like, if you could simplify that process, that would drive viewership right back up where it used to be.
I do believe that watching TV, especially appointment television, live television, is harder now. On college football Saturdays, like I will not watch anything that's not on YouTube TV because I like to be able to flip. And if I have to go to ESPN Plus to watch a game, I'm just not going to watch it because I have to sacrifice every other game.
Yeah.
I don't really feel that with the NBA as much. Mainly personally, I'm watching the Grizzlies if they're on. I'm not flipping. And the Grizzlies have League Pass, and League Pass is anybody who's got League Pass in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, it's not as expensive as like Sunday Ticket. Sunday Ticket was like $400 to $600, and I don't believe that NBA League Pass is that much, but you have that option. And I don't really buy the ratings. I don't trust ratings anymore. This isn't like the old Nielsen ratings where everybody had a box on their TV that reported what you were watching and at what times. There's so many different ways to watch TV.
Yeah.
For instance, on YouTube TV, I watch it on my phone, I watch it on my iPad, I watch it on my TV, on a Roku stick or a Fire Stick. And the same way with Bally, I can watch it on anything. So I don't really know that
numbers are accurate.
That
especially
because
like
add up. And also the ratings dip. And Clay Travis is like, he's the worst when he always wants to talk about the wokeness of the NBA and correlate it with poor ratings. I don't believe that the younger fan, the NBA has, I would bet my house that the NBA fan skews a younger demographic than any other professional sport. And those younger demographics are watching on tablets and on phones, and they're watching clips. They're watching highlights on TikTok or on Twitter, or they're getting on YouTube and watching clipped versions of these games. There's not a lack of interest in the NBA. It is just there's no consistent one and only way to watch it. And I don't know that that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I agreed. And I mean, even when Adam Schefter, who's breaking NFL news left and right, is watching an illegal stream online of an NFL game, that tells you the numbers are not going to be completely accurate. That you got guys that are watching as they can. And again, it's going to skew it. But I like Sane's idea here in the comment too. This is good. Players play for money. They like to be compensated. So make it defensive MVP, $2 million award, and you'll have some guys playing defenses for sure. Make it a little bit more competitive anyway.
Yeah. And that seems to be what makes the in-season tournament work. It feels like the superstars play for the guys on the end of the bench. That has you can feel the difference in an in-season tournament game versus a regular season game. That's not something I thought would happen. I didn't think they would care, but it is happening.
What a great transition,
maybe it can be a defensive player of the year, $2 million, but I feel like if you're going to reward the defensive player of the game $2 million, you've got to have something for the MVP. Or I think I'd rather just do it as a you win the pot kind of thing, like they have with the in-season tournament. Like, especially if you're going to do 4 teams and do a semifinals and a finals, put a pot of money in a
literal
see-through box, like it is deal or no deal, and then they go and grab a bag of cash when they win. Like that again. What I'm learning while talking about this is there's only 2 people that should be responsible for putting together this NBA All-Star game, and it's us.
And you look at it. We got all the ideas. Call us up, Adam Silver, if you want to save the All-Star weekend. But you didn't know it, but what a great transition. People think they care about the NBA Cup game. The Tuesday night game did not look that way. That game is far behind us. We're not talking about the Nuggets. We're strictly picking up where the Grizzlies are now 1-0 after defeating the 76ers the other night, heading into Chicago, where we owe them a butt kicking tomorrow night. Chicago beat us the last time we were there. I don't want to talk about that game because it's still super annoying. But Drew, Wayno posed this question back at the beginning of the show, and I think it's a good place to kind of talk into that, right? We talk a lot about players gelling and it needing time to come together, and I think the same could be said for our coaching staff through the first 15 games of the season. Thoughts?
Yeah. As far as them getting on the same page, I don't really buy that because Taylor Jenkins, whether or not his assistants have been there, Taylor Jenkins is in his 6th season. I don't think there's any question who makes the decisions. Now, I know he does do a lot of delegating. He is a leader of the people, I guess, more like a authoritarian dictator of a coaching staff. But I think that has to do with just like figuring out rotations. Like, it takes time to figure that out, especially when you're injured. Like, that's the thing. Like, Taylor Jenkins gets a lot of heat, and I have criticized him before. Listen, I wouldn't want his job because every single game you're crossing a player off the list and going further down the bench. I mean, we praise it. I've been praising, or there have been people, not necessarily me, praising, oh, you finally stuck with an 8 to 9 man rotation. Like, bro, there's only 9 people healthy.
I mean, the other night that his hand was kind of forced to shorten the rotation because of health. I've been a known Taylor Jenkins critic. I hope in year 6 we're not having to fill out, gel with other coaches, that he is the authority. He's the head guy. I don't know that I'm buying that. I think a lot of it, there's still players gelling together more than anything. I think players can overcome bad coaching when they're on the court. That's my one beef. And then my only real major beef with Taylor Jenkins is that he just doesn't play his best players. I mean, we're talking about like G.G. Jackson Jr. and John Moran have never played together. And I know he's not playing yet, but like we've never seen what that looks like. Marcus is still having to learn how to play with these guys. We're trying to figure out how to play with an old school post guy. Like,
I saw a stat that will send shivers up your spine. Chandler Parsons has played more games per season than Marcus Smart has played in his.
Why you say that name? It's like Voldemort, man. We don't say that name around here. I'm gonna cut you. I'm gonna, next time you bring him up, I'm muting you. That's for sure. Taking you off
Chandler
stage.
Parsons has played more games per season than Marcus Smart has played in his 2 years combined.
That's awful. So we're done talking about that. But I think it's more the players still having to gel. You got Wayno all upset here. He's using all caps. And Wayno's like, he's real chill down there. Like it's 1 a.m. on Sunday over there, and he's yelling in our comment section.
So, I do believe I'd put that up there.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez.
How dare I? I mean, listen.
First the hat, and now
there is a large section of Grizzlies fans that heard that stat I just gave out and used it to further their agenda to get Marcus Smart traded. I'm not every Grizzlies fan.
I was on vacation. I was on vacation with the guy who worked at Campbell Clinic at the time, and I when I saw the notification, and I was like, we just traded for he who shall not be named, or signed him, and he goes, damn, and I was like, what? He said, I was in the rooms with some of the readings. That was not a good call. And my stomach just sank, and it turned out to be right. It's the most overexpensive, most fleece job I've ever seen in my life, especially for him to go on these shows and talk about it. But I did not plan to talk about him today, November 22nd, 2024. This is your fault. If it happens again, chat, we're taking him off here. But I do think there's some gelling has to happen, and I think a lot of that has now been put on the back burner once again with Vince Williams Jr.'s injury. If you're on the Daily Grind this morning, you saw where I was kind of talking about what that injury looks like. And so just for those of you who missed that, Vince Williams Jr. has been diagnosed with a grade 3 ankle sprain. There's 4 grades. Grade 1, you just turn it. You can play through that. Grade 2, you get a little stretching of the ligament. Grade 3 is where you actually tear the ligament. And then grade 4
is where the leg is separate. The foot is separate from the leg.
Completely separate. No, I was at a game at Mississippi State in college, and I watched Elgin Bailey come down with an ankle brace on and dislocate his ankle, and it couldn't go back into place because of the brace. And they walked right past me, and I'll never forget that until my dying day. But Vince tore the ligament, not a grade 4 where it tears and pulls bone away, but enough that he's going to be out for a significant amount of time. Like, I know they said they're going to reevaluate in 4 weeks. Like, that's the reevaluation. It's very likely another 4 to 6 weeks after that before he plays, because again,
let's be honest. If they say whatever timeline Grizz PR puts out, add at minimum 2 weeks.
I mean, the thing is, like, we saw Steven Adams being reevaluated weeks and weeks and weeks at a time for a year. And so I think, like I said on Twitter, buckets_BCM, I think that 6 to 8 weeks feels about right. I think, especially given our wing situation, it's not as dire as it once was. Anthony Saint is famous for saying we got a bunch of boneless wings. We do not anymore. We have one Jalen Wells.
Guess what wing just got muscles?
That's
the guy that does this all the time. Jake Raven.
Tony Allen? Oh. So we've
got white Tony Allen.
Oh, get out of here. We got Jalen Wells is more Tony Allen than Jake. Jake Raven is just a product of playing a ton of minutes. Like, you do something enough, you're going to be decent with it. And so we got Jalen Wells. And look, I'll say this, like, LaRavia's been hooping. I still don't think he's going to get any significant time once we get people back. I don't think we're going to get anything, resembling what we're seeing now out of LaRavia in March or April, unless it's for the Hawks or the Hornets or the Nets or somebody that we've shifted to. But I like what he's been doing, and he's been playing really well. Our wing situation, had this happened, before we knew what Jalen Wells was, I'd have been really upset. I'm upset because I love watching Vince. Vince is our best defender, not named Jaren Jackson Jr., and we're going to miss him. There is no doubt. But Jalen's going to be fine. Jalen continues to start, continues to play well. Drew, I know we watched the Sixers game. We talked about it a bit on the Daily Grind. Jared McCain had himself a first quarter, and then Taylor Jenkins made a brilliant coaching move and shifted Jalen Wells onto him and cut his water off for 2 quarters. Like, he had a very quiet second and third quarter because of Jalen Wells. And so we're going to miss a lot of Vince's defense, but Jalen is stepping up. Jake has been doing great on the defensive end. I really loved his interview with Fish the other night. Watching him do the hustle things and little things well has been encouraging. Again, I'm a fan of his growth, but I think this is a fair question, and I'll shut up after this. I personally think this is the best Jake LaRavia will ever be. He will never get better than this, Wayno. This is his max. From here on out, his minutes are going to go down, and he ain't going to be what he once was.
And Wayno would second this. Jake LaRavia being a better option than Santi Aldama.
Lately, all right, so here's Santi's like 6 for $1 million lately.
Wing depth is great. I get it. The McCain being guarded by Jalen Wells, a lot of that too is rookies don't adjust well on the fly. And so Jared McCain did struggle, and give a lot of that credit to Jalen Wells. But also it is rookies do not adjust well, especially at the point guard position when defensive assignments are changed on them. As far as wing depth in general, losing Vince Williams sucks. He's the best on ball defender we've got. He's just havoc. Yeah. But you do feel a little better. You feel like you're in good hands. Jalen Wells has been good. He's still a rookie. And he's had about the best start to a rookie year that I can ever remember out of a second round pick. Outside of maybe Malcolm Brogdon that year, he won Rookie of the Year. But he's been really good, and he's going to settle into having an extended role for a long time. Everybody wondered what would happen once Vince comes back. Turns out Vince just gets re-injured. And so Jalen Wells, welcome to the big show, or feel free to stick around.
Yeah, absolutely.
LaRavia is interesting because I believe that Jake LaRavia and Santi Aldama are alike in one way. Yes, they're very versatile. They both do a lot of things okay, but don't excel at the one thing. But their production dips, both of them, if they don't get a lot of minutes. And you see Santi, when he gets 25 to 28 minutes, he looks like Spanish Santi for the Olympic team. He looks really good. He's always involved. And same thing with Jake. Jake, early in his career, yes, he dealt with a lot of injuries, but he was also coming in at the end of games and blowouts and spot minutes here and there, and he never got a groove. He seems like the kind of guy that thrives with a lot of minutes. And so if you see, once everybody gets healthy, we're going to continue saying this for the second straight year, once we get healthy, it's going to be interesting what they do with LaRavia, because I believe that there's a line in which the return on investment goes down drastically. You look at him in 28 minutes, leading the team in plus minus, being a havoc. You feel like he's everywhere at all times. If he gets 15 minutes, I'm scared he's going to look like the Jake LaRavia that Rusty thinks he is.
Which he actually is.
And well, no, I don't think he actually is, because he's proven us otherwise. But there is two things can be true. And so I tend to believe that he is a very high floor guy, but a very low ceiling guy. That's why when I always made the LaRavia arguments is that I was never arguing for him to be the sixth man. Never did I argue that. But I always argued that you will not find a better 12th to 15th man. And I think that's what you've seen. You need Jake LaRavia right now, just like we needed Xavier Tillman. But when you don't need Xavier Tillman, he was a dud. I'm scared that what will remain to be true is that when you don't need Jake LaRavia, then he turns into a pumpkin. It's something to monitor going
It's something
forward.
to watch. I think that, but like the reality is, Drew, though, there's not a role on this team where he's going to get more than 15 minutes when fully healthy.
I don't know, but
here's the thing.
But
so
you are assuming health.
And
that's what I'm saying to you. Like, you can't assume health.
We're about to get
we're not
Gigi
assuming
back.
health. Give me Jake LaRavia.
No, we're about to get Gigi back. And when Gigi comes back, Jake's minutes are going to be limited significantly. And then it's going to be even more so when Vince comes back, because there's not a world in this, there's not a world in this galaxy, in this universe, or any thought process where you're going to play Jake over more minutes when you've got Vince, Jalen, and Gigi that you can play.
I agree.
And so for me, what I think is happening is Jake is a phenomenal 12th man, absolutely, 14th man. But we need to shorten our roster. And if that means that we can take him, and DG talked about this a minute ago, I do want to get to this. I think it's a great question or a great thought. Like, if we can tag him onto a trade and it brings us somebody back, that's his best role for this team right now. Him hooping right now is doing better than what Marcus is doing for us, because Marcus is not playing. Marcus is not showing that he can stay with the grind of the NBA anymore. Jake is. So if we can take Jake and pair him with Marcus and Luke, or Marcus and Santi, or Marcus and BC, and then go move those contracts with some picks for a Cam Johnson, for a shooting guard who can actually shoot, that can help us. That's his best role for this team.
Well, I will play the Jake LaRavia sympathy card. Like, I feel like I've been the only one on the island the whole time. So if he gets
you
traded,
and Art are the only ones on the LaRavia drink.
I will mourn the loss because he was my guy. However, if we get Cam Johnson back, that pity party will last like 2.5 seconds.
It'll be different because, folks, you may not remember, but a little over a year ago, we had the same conversation about one David Roddy, and Drew was talking about how much he was going to mourn David Roddy. He was a real NBA player, and he ain't. So we'll just say that. But
I was wrong about that.
I'm going to throw this up. So, Drew, trade anyone not named Jaren or Bane for a quality starter who can shoot. We do have a lot of mid players. You've got Santi, you've got Luke, you've got Marcus, you've got Jake. You got a lot of guys. Jay Huff, I'll throw him in there, that are okay. They don't do anything exceptionally well.
Is there anyone you would add to that list? Untouchable?
For me, it's Gigi, and Vince or Gigi would be my other two that I would like. Yeah,
because this is the crux of the issue, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, you have a top three. If that is your championship window, you cannot do anything you want to do without those three in full health. So, what do you need to go along beside Ja and Jaren and Bane? Yeah, you need a long wing that can shoot. And that could be Gigi. I've said last week on the $2 Sports Show that I'm a little hesitant with punching him into like a significant role because you've never seen Gigi Jackson play alongside Ja Morant and Desmond Bane. And when he played, he took whatever shot he wanted to. I'm curious to see how he fits into a team that has a three-headed monster.
Agreed. I think that you can maybe make that like a four-headed monster because of how versatile and great Gigi potentially could be.
I still want to see it.
I still want to see it. I want to see what it looks like besides John then, because he does take a lot of shots. He had free reign last year. He could take a lot of shots. But, I mean, the kid has superstar potential.
Yeah,
superstar potential. Which is a dangerous word. We've seen there's been a lot, Monte Ellis, there's been a lot of potential over the years that were supposed to be these just superstars. And Gigi has shown glimpses that he can.
We said this about Zaire Williams.
Yeah, well, not quite superstar.
But we wrote him in as the number 4, after his rookie year, and then he turned into a pumpkin. The way I look at it, yes, if you can go get Cam Johnson, go get Cam Johnson. That's a no-brainer. But would you give up Gigi for that? I tend to always kind of err on the side of our championship window is now go get the absolute proven commodity, because you got to think about what the other teams are going to want. We can make all these, and you like to do this. You like to make all these trade offers in the trade machine for all of our players that we don't want, as if the other teams might,
Not me.
Oh, let's put together a pack. Let's put together a package of Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, and John Conchar and see what we can get. And I'm like, the answer is probably nothing.
That's Grizz Twitter, man. That's why I don't get in these spaces with these clowns on Grid, because you'll get in there and they'll be like, man, we could trade Scottie Pippen Jr., Jake LaRavia, Zaire Williams. We still had him and all these boneheaded, boneless wings, as Sane said, and then move them for Giannis. Like, this ain't 2K. It ain't gonna happen. Like, I think honestly, like GG, I love Cam Johnson. He's phenomenal, but we don't know. We may have Cam Johnson at home. So I don't know that I would give up GG for Cam Johnson, but if the Bucks called about Giannis, then if they want GG, that's one that I would make that trade.
Yeah, I mean, if the Bucks call and offer Giannis, you just say, all right, here's our roster. There's X's through this player, and this player.
What do you
have
want?
What you want.
We'll also throw in the Orpheum and Mud Island.
the Giannis is not getting traded. Dame,
it'll be Dame. It'll be Dame, 100%. But I think, but of those three, Drew. So you say somebody like Giannis is movable. We know Ja's not going anywhere. Are you trading feet to the fire? You have to trade one. Are you trading Jaren or are you trading Desmond for a Giannis type player? Which would you do? You have to choose one.
Are we saying Giannis or
We're saying Giannis
type player?
We'll say Giannis. We'll say Giannis specifically since his name has been mentioned as a trade candidate.
Listen, I don't know how the fit would work. I'm not trading Jaren Jackson Jr.
That's the correct answer.
I know there's like, oh, they play the same position. I don't care. Like, I'm keeping Jaren Jackson Jr.
That's the only correct answer, because then you could you could run out a lineup with Giannis at the 4 and Jaren at the 5, and there's nothing you can do. Then Zach Edey coming off the bench with one of those two cats, like there's literally nothing you can do there.
Yeah. That's not going to happen though.
It's not. It's a perfect world, but I like this. This is good. Like, I think we are seeing a lot of hype. Like, there are people that are arguing about a bidding war over Jake LaRavia in the offseason. Like, we ain't getting into a bidding war with anybody. Like, if we offer him a contract, he's going to sign and say. If not, he's gone. If the Grizzlies want him, they can get him. But I think this is exactly what he's doing. He is really playing above his head because he's getting 30 minutes. And if we can turn that into, hey, this guy is a can't miss up and coming prospect, and that turns into a Cam Johnson or, again, my perfect trade scenario is we call Brooklyn and we get Cam Johnson and Dennis Schroeder back, mostly because I'm tired of watching Schroeder absolutely roast us every time we play them, which is thankfully only 2 times this year. But if you can't beat them, join them, right? Like, bring him on board. But if you can move something like that and get those 2 cats back, man, let's go.
Yeah. I'm good with that. I don't really know about Schroeder. I feel like that's more like Grizz wounds speaking more than actually like basketball.
But his defense,
he's good.
Is so good, man.
He's good. And God help us if Scottie Pippen turns an ankle Saturday night, because I don't know who's going to dribble the ball for the Grizzlies.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, it'd be Cam Spencer is like our last line of defense. Yeah. Luke had Luke's first 2 games, man, he was facilitating, he was moving the basketball, and it has been anything but since. Like, Luke has done nothing to make me want to keep him the last couple of weeks. It's not been good.
Art's calling people fools over here in the comments.
I see that, man. It's getting spicy in the comments over here.
Go.
Hey, look, Sane agrees. We got. Oh, good. Sane agrees. We got Jaren, GG, and then it's Bane down the line. Like, that's solid, man.
Sane's going to bring the heat, and a GG over Bane take is not one that I've heard. So, listen, I'm all for it. Like, if GG is who we think he is, this list is correct. I'm just always so leery. You saw it with Dylan Brooks, and Dylan is not nearly the player that GG Jackson could be at their best. But Dylan Brooks, a year before Jaren got here, Dylan Brooks he had a really good rookie year in which he thought he was the elder statesman and he wanted to be alpha. GG had that year last year. Now, GG should probably never be compared to Dylan Brooks.
I was about to say, do not besmirch GG.
However, we've still never seen GG play that role yet. And I want to see it. I want to see him be a facilitator, the guy on the wing that catches the kick and then does something, but not the high usage guy that he was last year. He had a usage rating through the roof last year just because he was the only dude who was an athlete that played on our team at the end of the year.
And we talked about this in Summer League because, like, he averaged like 0.4 assists in Summer League. He would just shoot. And now he'd go get 26, 28 points, but he wouldn't facilitate. And I agreed, like Wayne was saying here in the comments, the word potential is dangerous. It really is. And I don't think that GG is a sure thing. That's why we're talking about it. I think he's as close to a sure thing as we have for a superstar not named John Jaren. But I think that there is still a lot of potential there. And I think
I also don't like Art throughout John Collins. I don't like John Collins. He's a freaky athlete, but he can't shoot.
He
can't shoot.
He's
got that
what
club
BC was
thumb or whatever. Yeah,
he's like what BC used to be, just a around the rim protector and a dunker, and that's all we need him to be. We don't need him to shoot. If he's an athletic big,
let's talk about him.
All right, John Collins. I mean,
no, you brought up Brandon Clark. Let's talk about him.
Yeah, I was getting there.
I have always this season. I feel like I've been put in a position to where I defend Taylor Jenkins a lot, and it's because like in games that we lose. Like for instance, the Lakers game where it kind of felt like it reached an apex. Everybody got mad at Taylor Jenkins despite the Lakers making 50% of their threes and they shot like 43s. So I mean, what can you do about it? And so I get the argument, but I tend to side on the other side. Like you're going to get beat some games. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Brandon Clark having a green light, continuing to have a green light, may be the thing that just makes me explode on Taylor Jenkins. Look, story time with Uncle Buck for a second. All right. My sophomore year of high school, I played on the JV team, and I only got in at the end of halves when we were getting blown out. Like, I was not a superstar basketball player. I could shoot pretty good. I was not an athlete. I'm 5'5". I've always been this tall, okay? Even as a JV at a 3A school full of white dudes, my peak was not very high. Okay. I get into the games, and of course, I'm like, I'm shooting. Shoot, forget this. I'm shooting. Coach tells me, all right, hey, you've been sitting a long time. You gotten cold. Don't go shoot the first time you get the ball. Okay, coach. First time I get the ball, chuck it, get stuck between the rim and the backboard, get a wedgie. And I pump my fist because I'm a salesman. And instead of like hanging my head like I missed it, I cheered as if I did this on purpose. And my coach took me out, yelled at me, and I said, Coach, how many guys you know can do that on purpose? And I never played again. My point is, I should have never shot that shot. I got pulled out of the game and yelled at. And Brandon Clark gets none of this. Like, how are we still in year 6 shooting that shot?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
I
at least
care if you only take 2 a game. Quit shooting threes.
I've at least seen you go on a heater at Tishomingo State Park in a game of horse where this man could not miss from beyond 3 and he eliminated everybody from deep. But BC, we haven't seen yet. The worst thing that came out of this summer, it was not injuries. It was not draft picks. It was Brandon Clark posting on Instagram that he's shooting threes. Like, that's been the worst development for the Memphis Grizzlies so far because he gets in the corner, he shoots that three. Like, no play, this is the I thing again, no play that ends with Brandon Clark shooting a corner three is a good play. I'm sorry, Tomas or Taylor or Climate, whoever is cooking that up. None of that is a good play.
Listen, I'm tired of the inclusive nature of this basketball offensive philosophy. Like, no, have you seen the Patrick Ewing when he was coaching Georgetown?
That's not your
shot. Is that a shot you practice?
Yeah.
Shot? Like, no, don't practice it. Don't take it. I don't care.
Everybody eats in this offense. Everybody eats in this offense except Brandon Clark.
From 3. Like,
from 3.
You know your role.
Yeah.
In that Philly game, there was a baseline out of bounds play with plenty of time on the shot clock. Brandon gets the ball wide open in the corner off of the inbound pass and chucks it. He was the first and only person to take that shot, and I lost it. Like, I was like, what are we doing?
I agree with Art here. John Collins is Brandon Clark. He's very athletic. He's great around the post. He's a great defender. He can shoot. He can take people one-on-one. He just had that hand injury that kept him out for a couple of years, as Wayno said.
He's got a Vince Vaughn thumb.
Well, yeah, because he had a hand injury, cost him 2 seasons. He's looked like he's bouncing back. I'm sorry, but if he's on the trade market, I'm calling with Brandon Clark and at least making that offer. I like BC. BC is a part of every single good closing lineup that we have, right? Like, he pairs well with Jerry. He pairs well with Santi. Like, BC is great for us. But I'm freaking taking John Collins every day and twice on Sundays.
He's a backup plan for me.
All right, that's fine. I don't know if he's the first trade I'd make, but I'd trade for him.
His 3-point shooting percentages since being drafted in the 17-18 season by Atlanta, 34, 35, 40 in 2019-2020. That's the shortened season. 40, 2021, 36, 29, 37 last year, and 35 this year. So maybe I'm being a little hard, but if you can replace Brandon with him, I guess we'll do it.
Again, I don't know that's going to happen, but like I would absolutely make that phone call for sure. And so we love BC, but stop shooting threes, man. Like keep both feet in the paint, not 3 seconds like Rudy did, but keep both feet in the paint. Let's go. This is the kind of
trade that, like, why in the world would Brooklyn make this trade?
Yeah, it ain't gonna be straight up. I mean, picks involved, but it's going to take more than that, man. They're trying to blow it up and do something different. When a team's blowing it up, they want picks and they want young players. They want Jake LaRavias.
Listen, if somehow Zach Kleiman fleeces the Nets into a Jake LaRavia for Cam Johnson deal, then just give him a 50-year extension and make him president of the United States while we're at it.
This is a really good point. I like this, kind of circling back to GG before we move on. But like, Ja made Zaire look very, very good. Made him look great.
Yes,
even
true.
And given Ja's now more in a facilitating type role, like Gigi's going to have some shots. Ja's still going to get his, but what I saw Ja before he got hurt, like the days of Ja taking over and going for a 40, 45 piece are few and far between. But I like Ja going for 24 with 10 assists because that means Jaren's going to have 30. Dez is going to have 25 or 30. Gigi could have 18 or 20 points pretty easily, and you're blowing the doors off the teams. Like completely blowing the doors off.
I want this offense to go away when Ja Morant gets back.
Yeah.
I do. I believe that this offense, and we're all over the place, and this is a show that's driven by the comment section. We appreciate you guys, but this is for you guys today. I believe that this offense elevates players like Jake LaRavia and Santi Aldama because it is a free-flowing, everybody eats kind of thing. I don't want everybody to eat if you've got Ja, Jaren, and Bane on the court. Like, I want Ja to get 50% of the shots, and I want Jaren and Bane to get, let's call it 20% of the remaining shots, and then 10% to whoever starts on side of them. Like, I don't want everybody to eat. I want John Morant to eat. I want Jaren Jackson Jr. and I want Brandon Clark. Desmond Bane to eat.
We don't want Brandon Clark because, yes, he is shooting worse than Santi from a percentage standpoint. And the reality is this is probably what's going to happen is there's a trade. We've talked about all these trades, but there's going to be one that we had no idea is coming, that we didn't have a single clue was coming, that is made to get us some shooting help. That's probably what's going to happen. Clark
is shooting worse than Santi. He is 1-4. He's made one out of all of his attempts. I think we did the math the other day. It was like 12% or something like that for the year.
It's awful.
Santi busted out of a really bad slump against Philly. It was a bad slump, but he's not that bad.
He had 28 against Philly the other night. Like, he played much, much better. When we needed him too, desperately needed him. I think what is happening here is
Kenny. My math is 50 plus 20 apiece for Jaren and Dez, and then 10. Yeah.
Look, he's an engineer. Don't question his math skills. He actually might decently be good at math, unlike me. But I think what we're setting up for, Drew, to kind of move into it a little bit more, speaking of the offense, we are currently, as of earlier today, we are sitting 3rd overall in the NBA in net efficiency. We are 8th overall in offense and 3rd overall in defense. And we have played the vast majority of the season once again without Ja Morant, without Gigi Jackson Jr., without Vince Williams Jr., Ja and Gigi being 2 of our better scorers, Vince being one of, if not our best defender, not named Jaren. And now we're missing Zach Edey for a lot of it. So we are in a very prime position to take over the NBA when it, knock on wood, rabbit's foot, whatever you do, Jobu, wherever he is, statue, like whatever you do for luck, if we are ever fully healthy this season, like the Grizzlies will be on demon time, is what that tells me.
Yeah. And like Sane said, equal opportunity offenses are making too many guys equal. It's a very communist offense, is what we're running from. The Frenchman brought over a very communist offense.
Oh my God.
It is working for some, but it's not going to. Like, I can see where, just like you call plays in offense or set plays, or I can see situations where you go to this. But if John Morant is not conducting the offense, however you want to do it, if he's not scoring or assisting on any play that is possible, then we're running the wrong offense.
Fair. I like the notion.
Offense. You heard it here first.
Listen, like that. His name is Drew Gann at Uncle Buck. That's who we're talking about here. It ain't Buckets talking about a communist offense. Good Lord. But I mean, it is working. We are one of the most efficient teams in the NBA. You know, even in the blowout losses that we've had, we are finding ways to get back in the game. We finally found a winning lineup against the Warriors and closed the game on a 22-6 run. We finally find guys who can play, and we pull it back in close against the Lakers. We're not getting blown out in any of these games. And once again, you are going to see this get significantly better when we get 12 back, which, if you watch the Chris Vernon show today, hopefully is soon. Like, you know, it was a little buggy that, like, you've got the greatest player on our team sitting there, and the first question you ask him makes him run away. I mean, I get why he asked it, because we all want to know when he's going to play again.
Yeah, fill me in. I'm not abreast of this situation.
Oh my goodness! So today, during the live taping of the noon Chris Vernon show, the entire Memphis Grizzlies team, staff and all, walks in the studios and starts dapping up Verno, and they're in the studio. It's amazing. J Huff grabs a mic and says, "I'm a man of few words," and then walks off. And like, it's incredible. Verno completely fangirls out over
Weirdo.
Yuki. Like, Yuki walks in and Verno loses his mind. He's like, he tells Desmond Bain, "Get out of the camera, Des. I want to see this." And he's like side hugging Yuki and like dapping him up. It's an amazing scene. And then when they all leave, Ja walks in and he's like, "Oh man, you know, talk to him, whatever." Well, Devin Walker wasn't sitting there. He'd gotten up out of his seat. So he puts him in Devin's seat over there. And the first thing that Verno says, not, "Hey man, how you feeling?" You know, or, you know, whatever, is, "When are you going to play again?" And Ja goes, "Good one." And then walks off. And it's like, oh no, you could ask him so much. It could have been an amazing interview. Just like Art said. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you won't believe who just walked into the Gann house.
But my biggest takeaway was Ja Morant is in practice gear. Like, he was in practice gear. He's out there playing. It's a matter of time. I wouldn't be surprised. He ain't playing against Chicago. But when we come home next week for some of those games next week, I think there's a very high likelihood that we see 12 lace him up and play for us again.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it feels like it's been right around the corner. The posturing on it, the statements that Taylor's made is like, well, he's doing okay, but we're going to get some imaging. It sounds like it's all just kind of a verification warm-up kind of stage now. Now, with our training staff and our ultra-conservative training staff, you know, it may be a 2-week. It's like the IR in NFL. It's like, oh, his 2-week practice window opened up, you know. So who knows? But yeah, he is trending the right direction. That is true.
And honestly, we don't need him. Our next 3 games are Chicago, Detroit, and Portland.
Don't do that. Do not do that.
I know that's fair.
We'll probably lose those games already.
You're welcome for that. But you know what game? All I'd say, he ain't missing next Friday. He is the mayor of New Orleans. Like, Ja Morant owns New Orleans. In his 6 games last year, he beat the crap out of New Orleans twice. And so, like, he ain't missing that game.
Both games.
Yeah. That Friday night game, that Black Friday game, it's 4:00 at the FedEx Forum, New Orleans at Memphis. I anticipate we will have Ja back by that game, if not sooner.
Hey, listen, it's all progress at this point, and it sucks that Vince is out. Vince is by far, I would say, and based on your comments on the Daily Grind this morning, Vince is the furthest out from coming back now, and so you can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. However, it just seems like every time you're like, it's like me watching an Ole Miss game. Something bad's about to happen. I just believe it. You know?
Yeah. The other part of that today, Zach Edey was not in practice gear, still in street clothes. I didn't see anything on his leg. At the shoot around the other night before Denver, he had on nothing. And then at the game at Denver and at the game against Philly, he had on an air cast, which is just like a little Velcro brace that goes up the lower part of your leg. It's not anything like crazy. It's what you typically get after an ankle sprain, not that black lace up one. And so, again, it still doesn't feel very aggressive. It doesn't feel like he's going to be out for any extended time. I really think within the next month, we will for sure have Ja back. We'll for sure have Edey back. We won't have Vince back. I think there is a small chance. It depends on how Gigi does with his ramp up and his basketball drills that we could see him before the end of the year. But, I mean, you're right. At this point, the longest standing one is going to be Vince at this point. Vince is going to be the one that it might take a little while to get back from.
Yep. So, we do have games this weekend. Tomorrow night against Chicago should be a win. Always you're looking at Zach LaVine in that game. Daniel Greer did say on a show that I listened to that Nikola Vucevic, it was on Grizz 901 after the Sixers game, Nikola Vucevic over 5 first quarter points is hit like every game. So if you're a betting man, maybe throw some change at Nikola Vucevic in the first quarter. But yeah, I mean, you're going into a manageable section of the schedule here after coming off of a gauntlet. You know, you came out of a gauntlet in which you played Los Angeles, the Lakers, you played the Warriors, you played the Sixers. And now the Sixers a gauntlet in name only, I guess. But now go and get right again, like we did in the stretch in which we played Washington and Portland.
Yeah, these are those type games. You have to go beat Chicago. You have to beat Detroit. Art and then make a great point. Or Wayno made a great point. Detroit hustles, man. They're young. They're playing hard. They are playing very well. They've got some talent there, and they're not winning basketball games, but they're going to hustle, and you can't go to sleep. They will jump up and bite you if you fall asleep in that game. But you got to win these games.
Aiden Ivy's been really good.
Yeah, you've got to go win these games. Like, these are games that you can record pad for seeding later in the season. Like, you've got a great stretch here. You've got the New Orleans on Friday is coming in the realization, like, they're talking about, oh, our 5 starters are out. Nobody's ever seen injuries like this on Twitter. And it's like, bro, like, you ain't seen nothing yet. But they have missed
They're
a
on
lot.
pace.
Like, yeah,
they're on pace.
They are. They're trending in a very Grizzlies direction. But these are games you got to win. These are games you got to get some momentum. And I think that New Orleans game on Friday is a NBA Cup game. Dear God, please go get a cup win. Like, we need a freaking cup win.
Not to mention, the Pelicans traded away Dyson Daniels to Atlanta for nothing. Mm-hmm. And Dyson Daniels is like the new Tony Allen all of a sudden. Like, awesome. Averaging 5 or 6 assists, steals a game. But outrageous. But go win a cup game. Jeez, I'm sick of everybody else having fun.
Yes, absolutely, man. Like, go win a freaking cup game. It matters. We're changing the court. Like, yeah.
If the Washington Wizards have won a cup game, the Grizzlies should have won a cup game by now.
Yeah, it is. It is freaking wild, man. But hey, we're there, man. Grizzlies basketball tomorrow night. Uncle Buck, you got any other thoughts or anything before we start winding this thing down? This has been a ton of fun. Art, Sane, Wayno, DG, Kenny, all you guys, Alan, anybody that's hopped in the comments. Man, it's been a blast. Thank you so much for being here. This is amazing.
Listen, while you wait on the Grizzlies tomorrow night, there's a lot of college football game. It's nut cutting time in college football. I know Rusty hasn't been watching a lot lately, but got some big games. Ole Miss plays Florida. That's what I'll be watching, obviously. You're getting towards conference championship. Everybody's aiming for a playoff. If you are interested in college football and you are going to watch on Saturday and keep up with it, I do a show every Tuesday live on this channel talking about the reaction to the college football playoff. Check that out. Hop in the comments. We'll do that. I try to get a guest on. Rusty wasn't able to join me this week, but he'll join me next Tuesday, I'm sure. And I'll try to have one other guest on that maybe you don't know. So check that out. Grizzlies Saturday. It's the only game of the weekend. So by the time Daily Grind comes Monday morning, y'all have your takes ready for Daily Grind, me and Luke on Monday morning.
That's it. Hey, listen, college basketball is back. Memphis undefeated. Mississippi State undefeated. There's a lot of good college basketball coming up. We're still in the Ole Miss. Yeah, Ole Miss undefeated. A lot of good basketball. Not any great games so far. You know, we've had North Carolina, Kansas, some of the early games, but we're kind of in cupcake season right now, but it's coming. College basketball is going to be fun this year. A lot of storylines, right? You've got, I mean, again, your three of your local schools are undefeated. Penny Hardaway's feet to the fire. A lot of stuff on him about him on Twitter. And all he's doing right now is winning. You got Chris Jans, the dentist in Starkville, Chris Beard in Oxford. You got John Calipari now right down the road in Little Rock. And so a lot of fun.
Penny's got a team that looks really good in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss plays Memphis. Ole Miss's last game in December. I think it's the 20th, or maybe it's November. No, it's December. It's like December 28th.
Yeah, Memphis, UConn, Monday. You talk about nut cutting time. We'll find out. You play Dan Hurley's squad. You're going to find out what you got. That's for sure. So, but hey, again, thank y'all for being here, man. This is fun. Great time. Thank y'all for popping off. We'll definitely do this again. Another live show here coming up. But if you're new here, if you're here for the live show, it's your first time. Remember, there are no refunds for what you hear on the $2 Sports Show.
That's right. Because with the $2, you always get what you pay for, which ain't much. Have a good weekend.
See you guys.
Thank you for listening to the $2 Sports Show. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. For comprehensive coverage of all things Memphis sports, head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co and find out how you can become an insider. We will see you back here next time.